Osiyo, it's how we say hello in Cherokee. I'm your host, Jennifer Lauren, at the historic Coleman Theater in Miami, Oklahoma. Lucien Ballard was a Hollywood cinematographer with a career spanning more than 40 years. He was one of the leading cameramen during the golden age of Hollywood, and today his memory is being preserved by his hometown.
Lucien Ballard was a real photographer. He made things happen. It's just amazing. If you watch a new movie, some of that technique that they're using today was developed by Lucien Ballard 40 years ago. Well, I think we're going to get his name known a lot more nowadays because it's just special what he did and special what he accomplished. We are in the beautiful Coleman Theater in Miami, Oklahoma. My name's Bob Poole. I'm from Miami, Oklahoma, and I'm a member of the Ottawa County Musicians Tribute Committee, and we recognize people in our hometown for their accomplishments, and that's how we got a hold of Lucien Ballard. Our committee had just got through recognizing Steve and Kathy Gaines from Miami, who's a member of the Leonard Skinner Group. We got them put in the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame. And we were looking, my friend Sam and I, for another Miami person that we could help get on the wall. And Sam had worked with Louis Ballard, who helped write the Five Swans Ballet. And so as we were looking under Louis Ballard, Lucien come up. And we both go, goodness sakes, look at the accomplishments of this man. And his hometown's Miami, Oklahoma. He graduated from Miami High School, went to the University of Oklahoma. I think he studied engineering because his father was a mining magnate here in Miami. He left the University of Oklahoma, went to the University of Pennsylvania. He started enjoying photography. He always did like photography. And when he was in high school, he was part of the Glee Club, which did plays and things back in those days. So he was always had the theater part kind of built into him. Being a Cherokee, him and one other young man that was a Cherokee also were invited to go to China with Will Rogers. Will Rogers was a movie star, so he learned a lot of things and probably met a lot of people and made some contacts. He went to California, and once he got started in Hollywood, he worked in the lumber industry for a while. He went from that to working in the studio. And people don't realize, but you can start right at the bottom and work all the way to the top. And that's one thing that Lucien Ballard showed us is you can start right where you don't think you could even be anybody. He's cleaning up after they've destroyed a set in some old comedy or something. He went from that to being the most noted cinematographer in the United States or in the world at that time.
So it's going to be real pastoral. I think you're going to like it.
Beautiful. Lucien's early years started when he met a German producer named von Sternberg. Von Sternberg had just produced the movie The Blue Angels with Marlene Dietrich. That movie was a real hit, and so Lucien started working with von Sternberg as assistant cameraman, and his career just took off from there because he learned so much and was inquisitive and wanted to understand just how it all worked, and it helped get him going in the 1930s and 20s in Hollywood. In the 1940s, Lucien was married to Merle Oberon, a beautiful actress. And she was involved in an accident which left a scar on her face. Lucien was really smart, and he knew how to develop a light that would not let the scar show so she could still stay in the movie. It's called the Obi because it was named after Oberon, but it was a special light, and nowadays they use it. When you do a selfie nowadays and you have the round light, that is a Obi, that is a Lucien Ballard idea. He shot The Three Stooges. He did 2 of those. All through the 30s, there was gangsters were a big thing. Bonnie and Clyde were big, and Pretty Boy Floyd and all that. So he made a movie called Penitentiary, all about the crime of the time, which was going on in America at that time. Racketeers in Exile was a big one that he made. He went from that into a era of the 1950s and 1940s. Black and white and film noir was coming in, and Lucien just fit that so well. All through the 1950s, Lucien worked with the film noir. He worked in different films, but the one he was really known for was the Stanley Kubrick film, The Killing. And I think him and the director, Stanley Kubrick, did a great job. And that was a film noir classic. There were certain things that Lucien did in that movie. When there's people would walk from one room to another, instead of switching the camera from one camera to another one, he would just follow it across and really brought it all together, just kept this scene really just solid all the way through. He was known for doing really unique, innovative stuff like that. In the movie The Killing, Stanley Kubrick and Lucien kind of had a row about what size lens to use. Kubrick wanted to use a 25 millimeter lens, which puts it up close, and Lucien wanted to back it out to a 50 millimeter lens. And they conflicted over that. Lucien was always the kind of guy to probably tell you what he thought, because he'd actually tell him, no, we need to do it this way, or I think it'd look better that way.
I took your dolly shot, but instead of using the 25 millimeter, I went straight for the 50.
We'll put the camera back to use the 25 millimeter, or get off my set and never come back.
So they conflicted, but it turned out to be a great end-up product of the whole thing. My favorite part of Lucien Ballard is the 1960s. The great movies that he's making in the 60s was Getaway with Steve McQueen, True Grit with John Wayne. He worked with Raoul Walsh. He worked with Henry Hathaway, Sam Peckinpah with the Wild Bunch. The Wild Bunch was just amazing to me because of the squib packs. Squib packs are little exploding packs that are electronically detonated. They're like a little piece of dynamite, but it made the actual violence of a scene be realistic. The cowboy movies we would see when we were growing up, somebody'd get shot and they'd fall off the horse. You wouldn't see anything, they'd just lay there, you know. But Lucien wanted the violence to show. He was turning out great movies just back to back, and all through the 60s, his work was just playing everywhere. When we found him and I started looking at what he had accomplished, I thought, my gosh, these were the ones that I took a girl to date with here in the theater, or you have a memory, you know, and he was the ones that was actually doing all the great cinematography behind it. The Ride to High Country with Joel McCrea and Randolph Scott was one of his big accomplishments because of all the scenery that they covered and the shots that he had got in the area they were in, the mountains, the scenes. I always liked the farm scene they went back down to when they were coming back down out of the mountains, that beautiful farm where they had the final shootout. He kicked over and did some work. He did the first episode of Maverick. He worked with Walt Disney. He did The Parent Trap with Haley Mills. But he eventually started slowing down, and in the 1970s, he got to where he retired in 1978. He was 74 years old, so I'm sure he was kind of wrapping it up. But he had a heck of a career, and we really appreciate everything he accomplished, I know that. In 1988, he lived in Rancho Mirage, California. He was riding his bike one day. I guess he tried to stay active, and he was hit by a truck, and it killed him. So he passed away in 1988. He's passed away 25 years ago and was never recognized in his hometown and never known about except through family members and friends. So we wanted to let the kids know from this area, especially the young Native Americans, that you can be anybody. You can come from this town and you can go to Hollywood, California, and you can make it. We have a place here on the Coleman Celebrity Wall. And so we talked to the Coleman Theater, they agreed, and the Celebrity Wall people, they agreed. And we got funding from Arts and Humanities, from the Dobson Museum, and from the Peoria Tribe. And when we got the plaque made, we invited people to Miami, and we showed 3 of the movies that he had made. And we had a good crowd, so it was really nice. We wanted people to really recognize who he is and see his accomplishments. And then we have to start lining up the movies, and people go, oh yeah, I watched that movie. I didn't realize that was his movie. He also was really good about coming back to Miami and helping it. He helped the college. He helped start the YMCA. He did a lot of things just for his hometown that people didn't really know about back then. So he was a nice guy. Lucien's movies used to play on this right here. They still play here. We played them the other day. But what's kind of neat, he used to sit back there and watch them. So we feel like we're in a pretty special place. I'm sure he may have been here watching True Grit, The Wild Bunch. Is sitting back there, and he's the one that shot it, and we're all sitting there going, oh, isn't that great? And the guy, the cinematographer that shot it, sitting next to you, you never know. It's pretty special. He just accomplished a lot of really neat things, made some great movies. It's like writing a hit song. When you make a great movie like that, it's going to be remembered. Like the Beatles write a song, it's a song. And Lucien Ballard did a movie. We know now he did a great movie. He was known for doing really unique, innovative stuff. And he's a Cherokee. We have so many young kids that wonder about their future. And we're trying to show them that you can do this. He was just a regular guy here in Miami who just applied himself, took the talent he was blessed with, and turned it into something really good. And they can do the same thing.